All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Monday, April 28th, and this is your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is All in Horns presented by Rogue Sports Network. And your Texas Longhorns have swept little brother in year one in the SEC. Not only year one in the SEC, but for the first time since 2010. The Texas Longhorns have swept the Aggies in a 3-game series under Coach Schlossnagle. And year one of Coach Schlossnagle, the year following the year which he took Texas A&M to the College World Series finals. And so made an appearance there last year, and things looking great for the Longhorns on the baseball diamond, not so much on the softball diamond. Got swept by OU, lost first place in the second place in the SEC, and now OU, I think, jumped Texas A&M in the standings and is now sitting in first place of the SEC standings. That, or at least jumped Texas. I know that much for sure. So not a great weekend for the ladies. Great weekend for the guys, and we're going to break it down for you all right here within the next 30 minutes or so. But first off, Jake, how was the weekend? And just watching these games, man, how'd everything go?
Yeah. I mean, watching the baseball games was a lot of fun. What I was able to watch the softball games was not fun. Kind of
made a little
reaffirmed.
They made it look closer than I think the games actually were.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 games were competitive, but the problem is OU's a young team that is not as good as their last 4 teams have been. This Texas team had very high expectations, and I think it's starting to become clear that a lot of our concerns we were talking about are correct. And unless they can get on some type of run, they just have not shown the ability to consistently beat some of these top teams, which you have to be able to do to win a Women's College World Series. That can change. I mean, in baseball, softball, you can get on a streak, have a bunch of hitters get hot at the right time. But it wasn't even the offense that let them down this weekend as much, which I think is very concerning for this Lady Longhorns team. But on the baseball side, vibes are completely opposite. I mean, they're fighting through all types of adversity, and they just keep finding ways. And I think the most important thing from this weekend that we can all agree on was Texas was able to avenge the traitor that was Mike Early, former hitting coach of Texas, leaving in, say, one of the most disrespectful manners I've ever seen in the history of coaching of all sports, leaving Texas to go to A&M to be the head coach. And Texas avenges that. And I meant to bring, I'm mad at myself. You took so long to get ready, I forgot. But I meant to bring a belt down so I could pop it, because Texas put a little belt to ass this weekend.
there was definitely some belt to ass for sure. I don't know how that's my fault how you forgot, but yeah.
I just like to blame you. It makes me feel better.
I did nothing wrong in this scenario. You just forgot to bring a belt. But no, Jake, it was great to see. I thought Texas really outmanaged Texas A&M in this series, whether it be from the bullpen with Maximum Wiener. He would come out, really manage the bullpen very well, rotated guys out when he needed to, let them stay in when they needed to. But I really thought managing the bullpen was crucial, especially first series without Jared Spencer, Jake. And things could have gone sideways very quickly. But it felt like in this series, Texas A&M would jump out to a one-run lead or a 2-run lead, something along those lines, and Texas would just fight right back and get that either tie it up or regain the lead. A lot of lead changes, especially game 3 earlier this afternoon. A lot of lead changes, a lot of back and forth action. It was a great series. Texas won the entire series by 3 runs. Every game they won was only a 1-run game, and so a lot of those going to the very end, into the 8th or 9th inning where those final runs were scored. And so again, it just goes to show that this team, no matter what the adversity, no matter what the injuries, no matter what the scenario in the game, this team has just found ways to win.
Yeah, it amazes me the amount of injuries they've had this year. The amount of guys who are playing dinged up and injured right now, and just finding ways to not let that affect their momentum. Struggling on Tuesday night games, not having a great Tuesday, even though they won. I would say that was not a great Tuesday night game for them against the Texas State team who's not that good. And then just coming out and just the bullpen perform. I mean, A&M had scored a combined 85 runs in their last 3 SEC series, which is the series that they've really started to catch fire. They got no hit in one of those games. That was the first of this 9-game stretch. And that's just SEC play. They've scored a ton of runs in their non-conference games. Those opponents aren't as good, so I didn't include that in this stat, I think, to make it the most fair stat possible. But that's about 9.4 runs per game. Over a 9-game stretch, one of those games being a game they scored 0 and still averaged that many runs per game.
So really an 8-game stretch if you want to.
If it's an 8-game stretch, it's probably around 11 runs a game. And they scored 8 runs in this series.
Total.
Less than they were averaging per game in their last 3 SEC series.
I think that was Texas's game plan, though. Going into it, they knew that the pitching had to be what it was. The fielding had to be exactly what they displayed. And they talked about it a lot in the series that this was a slower infield, that A&M probably wasn't necessarily like it doesn't fit what A&M likes to do when it comes to in the batter's box. But man, Texas executed the only game plan that they really needed to when it came to beating this A&M team and not allowing a lot of runners in scoring position, not allowing a lot of guys on base, and not allowing a lot of hits. A lot of their runs, it felt like it came on home runs or big doubles or something along those lines. And so I thought Texas had a game plan. I thought the coaches did a good job of implementing that game plan, that strategy, and then the players executed very well. Just a full circle performance all weekend long.
Yeah. The offense found ways to score when they needed to, and did quite literally just enough each game. And the defense and the pitching was incredible. They closed out very efficiently. They found ways to get out of jams. Valentis, again, just incredible. He'll be a starter probably come next year or the year after. He was able to pitch in back-to-back games this weekend and pitch very well. Grubbs pitched in back-to-back games, pitched very well. The depth of this bullpen has been tested now, and they've still just found ways. And now winning back-to-back sweeps against a top 10 Auburn team in an A&M team who, while not ranked, was coming in on fire, was a very popular pick to win this series. And many people consider to start to be living up to that preseason #1 ranking they had. And then Texas just shuts their momentum down. And the clutch hitting, I think, is just the clutch ability of this team in general on both sides, defense and offense, is the best in the country. And the broadcast said it, and I think it's a great way to put it. This baseball team is better than the sum of their parts. And I think Schlossnagle and his coaching staff is a big part of that. But also, I think this group has just worked really hard. A lot of these guys were on the teams of David Pierce, and I think they wanted to prove that, they were still good enough to win at the best conference, and they have now proven that regardless of how the season ends out.
They took it upon themselves to take kind of the coaching change personally of the lackluster play or the coming up short on expectations wasn't due to the players, and they wanted it to be known of like, look, we're not at fault for the lack of success that we've had over the last couple of years. And not to say that it was necessarily, it's kind of saying that it's David Pierce's fault, but it just didn't work out. And they wanted to prove that, look, we can do it here at the University of Texas with this new coaching regime. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're proving why they were recruited as highly as they were, why they came to the University of Texas, and they want that Texas baseball prestige. They want to be known within the memory of Texas baseball. And it's a long history at the University of Texas when it comes to baseball teams. And so, man, I thought the whole team played really well. Adrian Rodriguez in game 3 played a hell of a game. Went 3 for 3. Jake had a double. Obviously had that game clinching home run in the top of the 8th or bottom of the 8th to take the lead in the final innings, and then Texas held on with a game clinching double play in the 9th. Just a huge play, but Galvan, I think it was midway through, I want to say the bottom of the 6th, bottom of the 5th, Texas was trailing 4-3, and he comes up big with a 2-run shot. A single base hit brings 2 guys in, and able to regain the lead at that point. And just some, like you said, situationally, big time hits from big time players. Your best players, Galvan, Rodriguez stepping up. Gasparino played pretty well. I was very impressed by this team, especially from the big time players in the big time moments when you needed them the most. They came and they got the job done.
Yeah, just across the board, this team is a complete team. And I've said it over and over, but their ability to overcome the adversity and to perform in the clutch moments continues to just amaze me. And they keep proving me wrong. I never pick a series right. Pick them to lose a series, they win it. I pick them to win a series 2-1, they sweep it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just keep finding ways. I thought that they would not sweep this series. And granted, the games were close, but there's something to be said when you're consistently doing the same thing over and over, week in and week out.
I also thought that the Kimball Schuessler storyline with Schlossnagle is very interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic that those two have. Obviously their history between the recruiting issue back in the day whenever he didn't take him on at A&M, so he went to Texas, and then shows him why he should have taken him at A&M whenever he hits the home run, looks at the bench, points to him last year. Texas wins that game. And then now this year, he's the coach of the team, and he's his first baseman and one of his star players. But I just think that relationship is very interesting with Kimball Schuessler. But the fact that he plays as well as he does, he got a run in today, got a hit, and always seemingly making a play for Texas when they need him the most.
Yeah, one of the more odd storylines, I think, of a player in any sport, when you consider his journey and kind of how it's all turned out now with this year. It's a very interesting.
Well, shafted by Schlossnagle that he didn't get recruited by him, and then shows him up and proves him wrong, but has a big play against him for his team to win the game. And now that coach is now his head coach, and he's one of the best players on the team for him. So yeah, a very odd, very strange dynamic, but it's working, and I'm not arguing with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of just summarizing the discussion on Texas baseball this year. It's just working. Every facet of their team is just working. The things that we thought might not be that great are just working. The pitching, they have one of the best pitching staffs by almost every metric in the entire country.
Yeah.
They came from the bottom from last year.
Second in ERA.
To the top. I mean, I never in a million years would have predicted that. And they've had some arms that have come in and helped, but I've been blown away by this staff's ability to develop the talent that was already there. This isn't just a complete transfer team. They got a lot of guys who were on the team last year and that are now playing much better than they ever have. And that, to me, is the most impressive part of what this staff has done.
100%, Jake. Let's go ahead, flip the script over to the softball diamond and talk a little bit about their games. Got swept 6-7. It was a close game in game 1. Game 2, not so much. Game 3 was a blowout. You texted me. They're like, this is an embarrassment. It was like 6-0. And then Texas comes back and actually makes it a 6-8 game, scores 6 runs to OU's 2, make it a little bit closer, and then get it into the 9th inning, only down by 1 run. And they get 2 on base, 2 outs, and a ground out single, and game over just like that. But had an opportunity, had at-bats that they could have gotten the job done to at least get a win. I predicted a win in this series. They didn't get any. But more importantly, this goes to show that kind of this – winning programs have this disease in them of when their season is on the line, for whatever reason, that program, we see it in football all the time, whether it's Alabama or Georgia, we see Clemson in these moments. You just, these programs, when the lights are on and the stage is as big as it is, and you just have this winning tradition, and you need it to either get atop the conference standings or make a run into the conference tournament or make a postseason, they typically do whatever it needs to be done for that to happen. We saw it with Clemson this year, winning the ACC and getting a spot into the playoffs. And it just, sometimes these things just happen. And that's kind of what this series felt like to me against Oklahoma, because this is just a winning traditional program, and they weren't going to let this series slip by them and pass up an opportunity to make a run to win the conference.
Yeah, and it now just feels like this Texas softball team, I mean, at this point, getting over the hump is winning a national title. That's where they've set the standard. That's where they've set the bar. And it's fairly obvious that something isn't working, because in this series, the bats were better. If you would have told me they were going to score 6-7 runs in a couple of the games, I would have felt pretty good about my 2-1 prediction of Texas winning.
Yeah.
But they weren't able to slow down OU's offense enough. And it's just disappointing to see. And that's something you expect from a team that's supposed to be a great team, supposed to be a number one team in the country, is when one side of the field does start to pick it up, and then the side that's been your strength lets you down.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big red flag. And again, all these red flags are about winning a national title. It's not about them being a top 10 team at this point. They are a top 10 team. They've been a top 10
or
team.
even winning a series. Like, this is big picture wise.
Yeah, this is talking about, if they're, let's say they're in the Women's College World Series, winning that. And they just, they've dropped 2 out of their last 3 series. The series they did win was a very tight one against a good LSU team. I wouldn't say a great LSU team. I'd say the 2 best teams they've played in these last 3 series they've lost, and one of those being a 1-2 to Tennessee, and then now being swept on the road against OU. They had a very tight, kind of ugly game on the road against Oklahoma State.
Probably shouldn't have won that.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State is a good team, but a team that has been demolished by Oklahoma, has been demolished by some of the more top teams in the country. And it concerns me, because we're talking, you have to preface it with, we're talking about a team that started number 1 in the country in the preseason rankings and has hovered around that 1 to 3 spot all season.
Yeah.
And they just don't look like a top 3 team in the country right now.
They don't feel like a top 3 team. And, after dropping this series and getting swept, and then obviously dropping the Tennessee series, you've lost 5 out of your last 6 conference games. You're probably flirting with, number 8, number 9 in the country at this point, number 10. That's just how the SEC is, and how these rankings work. And so they're probably going to drop down, maybe bottom of the top 10, if not out of the top 10. I'll be curious what they decide to do and where Texas is. But Texas has a Texas baseball big series coming up on the road against Arkansas, Jake. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then as well, with softball, as I think they've only got 2 more series left, or 1?
I think it's just 1. I was looking at their schedule earlier. You think I would have this memorized? But they played Oklahoma State. They played OU. Yep, just Kentucky, which is a series they need this. I mean, this has to
be a sweep. Yeah,
this is as much of a must sweep series as far as just getting some momentum going.
Yep.
I don't really care about what happens in the SEC tournament all that much, to be honest. I think when you're a team that's already secured hosting a regional, though I guess, to be fair, it could decide if they host a super regional or not. At least doing somewhat decent in that SEC tournament. We'll kind of have to see where the rankings fall, and we'll have a better idea after the Kentucky series of what they need to do in the SEC tournament to guarantee that they host their way into the Women's College World Series.
Right. And there's that aspect to it, but there's also aspects of other teams dropping series and upsets happening and people dropping out of certain spots. And but you don't have to worry about that if you just win your series. And so right now, Texas softball trying to get back to their winning ways as they take on a Kentucky team who they should sweep in this series. But recently, it's been a little bit of a question. But yeah, Texas baseball, they take on Prairie View A&M tomorrow night. And then they've got a road trip up to Arkansas at Fayetteville to take on a top 5 SEC program in the Razorbacks. And then still 2 more SEC series with Florida and Oklahoma before the SEC tournament gets going. So still a lot of work to be done for the baseball team, but they've given us no reason to doubt them.
And Florida just took down Arkansas in their series. So that, I mean, you got Arkansas is going to be coming off a loss to Florida, looking to get the ship righted at home. And then you're going to have Florida, who's maybe starting to get a little hot. Then you're at a very good Oklahoma team after that.
Yeah, and Arkansas has a an strange and unreasonable hatred for Texas, and so that fan base is going to be wild, ready to take down Texas.
That firsthand. I don't think I'll be traveling to Fayetteville for this baseball. Though it would be funny if I could run into that fan I was sitting next to and be like,
that lady.
You remember you put your thumb up in my video and said, "Gig 'em, you really just took all the L's during football season."
Yeah. By the way, since there was a Twitter post posted back when Texas was losing to Georgia 20-0, and it was the screenshot of Manning and Ewers on the sideline, and they were both like staring off a 1,000-mile stare. And Aggie Sports 365, something like that, tweeted out, "Welcome to the SEC." Well, since then, Texas has beaten Aggie football 17-7. Men's basketball beat them 2-1 the 3 times they played them this year. Got swept in baseball by Texas. Lost. There was another one. What else? What am I missing out on? God, there was another one in there.
Women's basketball.
Women's basketball. Yes, women's basketball. They beat them like 70-50 or something. They beat them by 20. Yeah. So not been great for Aggie Sports 365 on X, the everything app. Everything happens on X.
I'm seeing some great cope, right? I was actually looking at X because you'd brought it up, and I was like, I wonder what they got to have a narrative built up by now of how they would have won the series. We have found the narrative.
Is it win?
The narrative is that because Texas's park is harder to hit home runs at, that if it was at their ballpark, they would have won in a blowout every single game.
Of course. Well, yeah, duh, Jake.
I'm telling you, if A&M's football field was just 10 yards shorter, they might have scored an offensive touchdown too.
Maybe. Yeah. It's
probably not, but maybe.
They did get on the goal line that one time.
That is true. They did get stuffed at the 1 yard line. That could have been a touchdown. Then they could have only lost by 3. That's basically winning. They cover the spread.
It's basically winning, Jake. It's essentially losing by 3 against Texas at home is basically beating Texas at home.
I'm going to call them What If University for the foreseeable future.
You know what? Marvel or Disney and Marvel need to make a What If series, and it's just A&M. It's just A&M What Ifs.
What if we just didn't shit ourselves every single time we had a big moment against Texas or against anyone?
What if we went 9-3 and not 8-3?
They'd be playing in the Chick-fil-A Bowl with Johnny Manziel against Duke.
Against Duke with their greatest
chanting SEC at the end.
Yeah. After coming back from like 20 points down. What a big moment.
It's just it truly hasn't getting old. And I can't wait until the end of the year when the final score is showed of the Texas A&M, the Lone Star Series Showdown Trophy that they're doing as a cumulative of all sports.
Yeah.
The dumbest agreement in the history of agreement, worse than the Luka trade. as far as A&M deciding to accept that offer of going, yeah, we'll compete to try to say that we're gonna win as a conglomerate, as a athletic department over your athletic department.
Because what's going to be great is that they're going to be recruiting the same athletes, and they're going to take a visit of their what do they call it? It's not the trophy
It's
room.
the hall. It's the hall of empty. Sorry, the hall of champions.
Yeah, because they don't have a trophy room. I always want to say trophy room, but there's no trophies in there, so you can't have a trophy room if there's no trophies.
Hey, that Chick-fil-A bowl takes up a lot of shelf place.
Yeah, and then Jimbo's plaque that also is hung still, but they'll have the same recruits, and they'll go over to the hall of empty spaces at Texas A&M, and then they'll see that one or two little Texas Showdown trophies, and then they'll come in to Texas and be like, "Oh, there's about 20 of these over here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say." But thanks for the help recruiting A&M. We appreciate it. Yeah, that'll be really easy.
I don't even know if those trophies make the room for Texas.
Well, they probably have a separate little like dark hallway where like the light flickers on. It's like and then you kind of like go in there and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, this is how many times we beat A&M in one season, and it's a whole room of just door
storage room, and they're kind of stacked on each other.
It's like what Aggie did with the second place runner-up trophy. He just like put it as a doorstop. That's essentially what Texas uses these Texas Showdown trophies for, just doorstops around the facility.
Every coach gets a doorstop, and it's just a Lone Star Trophy.
That's actually a brilliant idea. We need to get
this to Chris Del Conte
like ASAP. That's a great idea. Just it means nothing, but you know what? We'll have them around the office, just as a reminder of our dominance in every sport. Yeah.
I mean, they probably already have enough from this year alone for every single coach and every single program.
They have. But dude, think about it. Between tennis and swimming and stuff, I guarantee you they've got to have, and I don't know if they do them for every sport, but at least the major sports do.
Whenever the end of the year breakdown gets brought up of the points for each team and what each sport did, we'll go over that in detail for all of the listeners whenever that comes out.
And it will be essentially porn to any Longhorn fan over an Aggie hater, because it'll just be music to your ears. You'll have an eargasm without a doubt going over those numbers. Speaking of dominance, Jake, Texas puts 12 players in the NFL draft. That's a program record, having 12 players drafted in one draft. So kudos to Steve Sarkisian in the Texas Longhorn program. A lot of them went to teams that I can't stand, and they drafted like two of them each. Like San Fran got Byron Sorrell. They got Philly got two of them. Green Bay got two of them. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But let's go ahead. We'll go into much further detail on these picks, but also 79 players drafted from the SEC. Now, yes, that's with Texas and OU joining the SEC. And so those numbers are going to be
OU didn't contribute very much.
They did contribute like three guys. So, and if you want to count Dylan Gabriel, you can throw Dylan Gabriel in there.
That he just played his last. If they get to claim Jalen Hurts, they don't get to claim Dylan Gabriel.
No, without a doubt. No, I know. But yeah, you had Golden going to the Packers. You had Byron Sorrell going to the Packers. Sorry, Alfred Collins went to the 49ers. And then you had Makuba go to the Eagles. The Saints got Banks, and the Saints got Vernon Broughton. Gunnar Helm went to the Titans. And Jaden Blue to the Cowboys. That's always fun. Cam Williams also going to the Eagles. So you had the Saints, the Packers, and the Eagles drafting two Texas players each. And then Hayden Connor rounds out with a 6-rounder to the Cardinals. Oh, and then Quinn, obviously, to the Dolphins in the 7th round.
Yeah, we'll get much more into detail of this tomorrow, because I think there's a lot of very interesting talking points from this draft, especially when it comes to the quarterback position.
Oh, what happened with the quarterback? There wasn't a big storyline that happened with the quarterbacks this year.
No, there wasn't an ESPN analyst absolutely embarrassing himself on national television. Granted, he already embarrassed himself with his Kelvin Banks take, but we'll get more into that tomorrow. I don't need to start on a tirade.
No. All right, well, let's wrap up the show, Jake. That is going to do it for your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All In Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hey, we got a big boost in subscriptions over draft week and over the end of baseball season. I think we got about 30 or 40 more that just like randomly bumped up. So keep hitting that subscribe button. Appreciate all the support. We thank you very much for it, and we will continue to kick out content just like this each and every day, Monday through Friday, dropping episodes at noon. So set your alarms, and we'll be there Monday through Friday. For Jake Jimerson, I'm Tanner Carlson, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.